Everyone,
cool.
this is Toronto comic Matt Baxter.
guys.
So
God
thanks
bless.
for being here. We got lots to talk about, so it's going to be good.
Yeah, I'm excited. I don't know if you noticed, but this shirt is part of my rebrand.
Yeah.
I'm rebranding.
Buttons?
I'm rebranding myself as a Christian clean comedian, so I can get booked.
Yeah? Dude, I can't even do that.
I've been indoctrinated to the cult of edgelord, and it's destroyed my life. So I'm sorry, everybody, for all the awful things.
Whoa! Is this the beginning of Matt Baxter's apology tour?
yes. This is my redemption arc.
I'm happy to be a part of
Jesus
it.
has saved me from my horrible, misogynistic, homophobic ways.
Were you those things, or did you just make jokes about it?
So this is interesting. This is actually a kind of a conflict I'm having. But no, I was never those things. But to me, that's what comedy is. Like I watched Opie and Anthony, Louis C.K., Legion of Skanks. This is the kind of comedy that I love. But I do think I was cultified a little bit.
Okay.
Into sort of an anti-woke echo chamber.
Okay,
And,
fair.
Now that I found God, I don't want to be like that. Like if I see a comic with blue hair and she's politically correct, I will like dehumanize her in my mind and not see her as a person.
Gotcha.
And see her almost as like the enemy. If I'm being
Yeah,
honest.
no.
And,
I
like,
can see what you're
and
saying.
they would trigger me. They're like, "What do you mean I can't say homophobic slurs at the open mic?" Like I'd get triggered. Like that is my human right.
Yeah, well,
And,
it's funny you say that because I think like coming up in like my Christian background, I would see people from other religions as that.
Interesting. It's tribalism, right?
Yes, 100%.
And if we're truly trying to be like Christ, he was the least tribalistic person ever.
No,
He loved everybody, and that's how I want to live my life.
Yeah, well,
I don't want to be like that.
Yeah, that's fair. That's
Yeah,
cool. I
yeah.
think the way that I explained it to my wife, which she still disagreed with at the end, but I said of comedy that to me it's almost like MMA. That the things you do in the cage are unacceptable outside of the cage.
No, it's funny. I've used that exact same metaphor.
Have you really?
If people are fighting on the streets, that is bad.
Yes.
But there's an art form to it. They're doing an agreed upon thing at an event.
Yes.
And I think maybe edgy humor is kind of like that. If you're on the bus saying horrible things, yeah, you're an asshole. But we're all going to a comedy club and kind of agreeing that this is sort of like make believe. We're just having fun here.
Yeah.
It's just wordplay. There's an art form.
Well,
So that makes it okay.
Yeah, it's wordplay. It's an art form. I think it's also somebody needs to be able to say those things in a sanctioned way. Like,
Yeah.
like the comic is the person who's pointing the finger at all of the authority figures in our culture, and there needs to be a place where that can happen.
Yeah.
At least I think so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so you were so first of all, for people who don't know, who I'm sure there's so many people from all over the world that watch my podcast, but the Casting Couch is like
It's a Kill Tony.
it's like a Kill Tony style kind of like comedy show.
We call it Kill Tony Canada.
Yeah, Kill Tony.
We did what The Office did. We just stole it.
Yeah,
And made it better. Fuck you, Tony Hitchcliffe. No,
That's right. So you were one of the hosts of it, along with Rob Mayhew
Rob
and
Mayhew,
some other random.
And then we'd have like
guests.
a guest host, a third guy.
And people would come up and do comedy, and then you guys would kind of jab
Yeah, you can
in.
interrupt, riff,
Yeah.
or just the person's doing well, just listen. Yeah, whatever. It's just kind of chaos.
But you are no longer a co-host.
Well, Rob's doing this thing where it's like Baxter has to earn his way back to the couch, but like it's all good.
Because you relapsed.
Well, I relapsed, but I paid Rob my rent money. Which
Yes.
was like $1,100. We were living together at the time, and then I relapsed and I ran out of money, and I stole my rent money back from him. So basically, I was a thief. I stole money from Rob Mayhew.
Did you repay him with that money?
Well, I evacuated the premises immediately.
Gotcha.
So I did pay last month's rent. So we're all good. We're
Yes.
square, but yeah, he's a bit cheesy about that.
Yeah,
Which is-
yeah.
which is
Money,
fair.
money will do that. That is fair.
But part of the recovery process in 12 steps is making amends. So
Yes.
I've made like a verbal amends. I gave him a hug, told him I loved him, said sorry.
Yeah.
But eventually I'd like to make a financial amends when I'm liquid again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's so many questions that I want to go into. I guess the first one is what was your drug of choice?
So for me, it actually starts off with marijuana. So I will get depressed. The enemy will start talking to me, being like, you're a loser, you're a hack, kill yourself.
You already sound more Christian than I ever did.
Really, eh?
If I say the enemy, yeah.
The enemy, yeah. Satan, Lucifer,
Yes.
Morningstar.
Sure.
Yeah, the enemy. Okay. And he would just talk to me and tell me these awful things. and my mind was like a torture chamber when I was sober.
Yes.
And I couldn't take it. So I'd always rationalize, be like, okay, I'll smoke a joint. What's the worst that could happen?
Yes.
And I smoke a joint and it gets rid of those voices.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm back under the rule of Satan, and now I'm just his puppet.
Yes.
And then I go from weed to booze, and then I'm doing coke and meth and oxy and acid and basically whatever I can get my hands on.
Okay, so you weren't picky.
No, but it would be weed, booze, and then basically become a yes man.
Okay.
But if I'm sober, the idea of doing drugs makes me cringe. I'm like, ew, no, I'm not doing drugs. There's like fentanyl in that, right?
Yes.
But if I'm hammered, I don't care. I will do whatever is around me.
I want you to be comfortable with the mic, but I worry that you're far. That's interesting. So you were not. I was surprised, I guess, because like I come from a church background. It never even occurred to me how prevalent drugs are in the comedy scene.
Interesting.
Like I wouldn't know if somebody was like on coke when they were talking to me.
Yeah.
Right. Like somebody had to point that out.
Right.
I'd be like,
it's also another thing that's annoying about my brand of alcoholism and addiction is like some comics, they do drugs and alcohol and they're still super productive and still super funny.
Yes.
And like get stuff done. I just disappear. Like I'm nowhere near comedy when I'm high and drunk.
Yeah.
99% of the time. I'm like off in the park hanging out with Jamaican dudes, just having a good time.
Yeah.
So it's definitely hurt my my mastering of comedy for sure.
Is comedy something that you still want to do?
So I was actually conflicted about that because I had this spiritual awakening. I became a Christian, and I really just do want to be a humble servant for God now.
Yeah,
that is my only goal. I want to love God, love everybody else, and just do His will. And I was like, is comedy too an egoic, selfish thing to do?
So all these questions you're asking are exactly what I went through when I did it. When I became a Christian. So I did 10 grams of magic mushrooms.
Yeah.
Like
Did you see Jesus?
So I would say it was like a God experience. Okay. Like up until then, I would have described myself as an atheist. And then like, it's as if God showed himself to me. And then it was only when I kind of like researched things that I kind of got that like Jesus reflected the God that I had encountered, if that makes sense. And then a whole bunch of things, like I got a job at a store, and then the guy who worked at that store like was a youth leader at a church. The first time I go to that church, I meet all the guys that would like end up in my wedding party, like day one. And but then I wanted to be on SNL. That up until I was a theater kid.
That was your dream, SNL.
That was my dream. I wanted to be on SNL.
Did you want to be a writer, or did you want to be a
actor,
a performer?
I was a theater kid in high school.
Okay.
I got into U of T in York for theater, and then I have this experience, and I'm like, I only want to serve God. I go to Bible college instead, and like throw myself into like youth ministry and like worship ministry and stuff like that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then
that's amazing. I also had a God experience on magic mushrooms.
Did you?
I don't want to take the wind out of your sails.
No. How long ago was this though?
This was a long time ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
But I now have a different perspective on it.
Okay.
I don't think what I saw was God actually. Because, so what I saw was I closed my eyes and I saw these swords of light and they were going in like infinite directions.
Okay.
And then I also saw a bunch of eyes, and the eyes were like rainbow colored. And basically I was talking to like this entity, like telepathically, really communicating. Okay. And it was a woman, and she instantly knew everything about me in like a nanosecond. I knew everything about her in a nanosecond.
Yeah.
And we had like a sexual romantic relationship.
Whoa.
And like in my mind, I almost made myself come without even like touching my penis.
Weird. Just
like in my mind, having sex with this goddess, right? And she told me, "You're not a drug addict anymore, Matt. You can do drugs safely now. I've granted you that power." So then when the magic mushrooms wore off, I'm like, "Oh, I can drink normally now, and I can do blow once in a while and not ruin my life."
Yeah.
And that lasted for about 4 days.
It was like she told you everything you wanted to hear.
Yes, exactly. And I thought I was healed. And then, but years later, when I started going to church, I told this kid about my experience. And he's one of those kids that like has been Christian since he was a child.
Yes.
And like never wavered from the path.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, Matt, I actually think you saw a fallen angel. It was actually a demon masquerading as God."
Yeah.
And looking back, like, "Oh, that makes so much sense."
Yeah.
Because I think these magic mushrooms, they bring you to the spirit realm, but like not all spirits are good. Not all spirits have your best intention at heart. You know what I mean? So for me, I find God with a sober mind. That's where I find the real God in my understanding. Yeah.
Did you have an experience? Because there's so much of your story that I want to talk about, but I don't want to, like, I want to talk about where you are now.
Yeah.
Which is that, did you have like a God encounter to get you to where you are now?
I did. Yeah.
Okay. What was that?
So basically I realized.
And how long ago?
So basically, I relapsed. I was hanging with my girlfriend, and we did lots of like stimulant drugs.
Okay.
And I lost my mind. I went crazy. I was seeing things. I was hearing voices. Like we were driving on the highway, and there was like a demon in my head being like, "Grab the wheel and kill both of you" and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that relapse, whatever, petered out. I woke up in a berry detox center, got through that, and then went to a place called the Ranch in Newmarket,
Okay.
which is like a treatment center. And there I met this guy, and this guy's taking me through the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Mm-hmm.
He's taking me through the 12 steps. And he's taking me through the 12 steps in a way that I've never seen before. That's like really connecting me to God. And he's also a Christian.
Yeah.
So he's also teaching me about the Bible.
Yeah.
And I'm having an experience with the Bible, like with Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And it's flowing into my life. And like I feel my soul getting restructured and like everything's changing.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. I got baptized the other day.
I saw that.
I'm going to church. Yeah, everything's, yeah. I can't believe it. It's such a plot twist that I believe in Jesus, to be honest. I never thought I'd be that guy.
I know.
But I am. It is,
Yeah.
and I love it.
Yeah.
I love him. He's the best.
Yeah. You don't care.
Yeah.
Right? Like you don't care how crazy it might make you look.
Well, the thing Lloyd always says, the guy who's taking the book, he says, "Do you want to feel good or do you want to look good?"
Yeah.
So this doesn't look good, me being like, I heard voices and I was on drugs. Now I found Jesus. People are like, "Oh, you're nuts."
Yes.
But I don't care because it feels amazing. Like I get God's peace flowing in. And it's funny you say I don't care because we use a concept called the I don't care. So when you're in the I don't care state, that means you've given your life over to God. So there's nothing to care about. He's going to take care of your relationships. He's going to take care of comedy. If he wants me to be a comedian, I'll be a comedian.
Yeah.
If he wants me to be a farmer, I'll be a farmer. Like I don't need to think about anything. I just give the reins over to him, and there's nothing to care about. And not caring feels really, really good.
Yes.
And that's actually why we do drugs and alcohol, because when you're hammered, you don't care. You don't care about what people are thinking of you. You don't care about the future. You don't care about where your career is going. You're just in the moment having fun. And I've learned how to access that state of mind through God without putting poison in my body, and it's such a miracle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that make sense to us?
No, it does. It rings very true because like I think I've struggled with trying to like quit weed for a while, and just that alone like feels like a monkey on my back that's like hard to get off.
It's a hard one because it's so easy to rationalize because just weed, it's not going to kill me.
No,
you know? It's easy. Yeah, but
or it's like it's not even that. It's like I know that it's bad, but then it's like you say, it's like you start to feel like depressed, and you're like, well, this will make that go away pretty quick.
Yeah.
Right. And then even when you're not using it, you're not really sure what to do to like get yourself back on track. So I don't know. So I recognize what you're saying, but also as like somebody who's like feels like they're struggling.
Interesting.
Yeah, man.
Maybe try and bring your faith into that part of your life.
Yeah, I mean
into your depression and your weed addiction, you know?
What does that practically look like?
So it's hard for me to say. I don't want to push this on you, but like for the 12 steps, like people say like the 12 steps are only for like guys who drink out of a paper bag underneath the bridge.
Yeah.
But they actually apply to all forms of addiction. Like people do it for overeating, for gambling, for all kinds of things. The 12 steps are basically just a process to give your addictions over to God.
Yeah.
And they're pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe something to look into.
Yeah,
there's even marijuana anonymous meetings.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've heard about that.
You can check one of those out. You can also just read the book.
Yeah.
And like you already have faith, so it'll be easy for you.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the book is just getting people to believe in God, but you already do believe in God.
Yeah.
So like it'll be a
this
piece
is like
of
the
cake.
12-step book?
The 12-step book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's called Alcoholics Anonymous.
I don't think I know really anything about it. Let's go back to the beginning then. Like what kind of like kid were you raised in a religious household?
Not at all.
No, not even.
No, my mom was the kind of person to be like, those Catholics are crazy. They're all kid diddlers. Like, stay away from them, kind of thing.
Yeah,
like
okay.
That sort of classic take on it.
Okay, so you didn't really go to church at all as a kid? Where did you grow up, by the way?
So I had one church experience. My best friend growing up was this kid David, and he was from El Salvador.
Mm-hmm.
And his family actually grew up in Jane and Finch, and then they moved to Barrie to have like a cheaper life.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought me to like Spanish church at Jane and Finch a bunch of times, and it was awesome. Like there's like we're eating pupusas and quesadillas. We're playing basketball. There's people singing.
Yeah.
There's like hot Spanish girls there. And
Yeah,
I'm like, so that was my one church experience. And I'm like, church is awesome. I just felt the community and the love there. I guess they might have been like a Protestant church because there was like the speaking in tongues.
Yeah.
And ladies were like seizuring on the ground.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I was like, this is kind of cool. Like it was kind of like Harry Potter. Like,
yeah,
they're like saying curses and spells and stuff. Like I was kind of into it. It was stimulating. I remember.
If your only experience is ever like Catholic, like when I was a kid, it was only Catholic church.
Yeah, which is kind of boring and stuff.
You sit and stand, and like you have no idea what like they're saying some stuff in Latin. It's not fun. It's definitely not fun. The music sucks. And then like, right. And then I met this guy who at the shoe store, And I go to the first like Protestant church and they're like playing guitar and there's like, I went to a youth group first.
Okay.
And it was just full of teenage girls and like, and guys my age. And like, yeah, it was fun. It was like
fun, yeah.
churches like this, right? The music still was not, you know, top notch. So
Christian music's pretty good.
I mean, it's gotten a lot better.
Like I know Hillsong has its problems, but that music they pump out is
Hillsong, Elevation.
awesome.
There's I mean,
I went to Elevation the other night.
did you really?
I didn't love it, to be honest.
No.
Did you like it?
No, I'm not into like.
I don't want to shit on it because like if it speaks to people, like God bless, but I don't know. I did not feel God in that place. They're selling like Jesus merch. Yeah. And they're going around trying to get you to tap your debit card. I'm like, this is kind of gross.
That's kind of my beef. Like,
it felt like going to a club on King Street. Everyone's like dressed super hip and you're just like going there to fuck, which is fine, but don't pretend to be this godly place.
That's kind of the conflict I'm in with church in general right now. Is I feel like the evangelical church in like North America is very commodified. Right? And we throw everybody, you know, just puts themselves under the leadership of like a really charismatic guy who almost inevitably that like the church becomes big and then it explodes in a scandal. And then like half the people who were going to church because of that guy stop going altogether. Right. And I've just seen it in the evangelical church happen over and over and over. Yeah. And I think also like on a theological side, like we were talking about at the beginning, how like I was very much on the team, very tribalistic, you know, we know what's best. You don't like your religion is wrong. And I just don't like feel that way. Like I kind of don't care as much.
That's okay.
About like being in the club or doing Christianity the way that like the church says that you have to.
Yeah.
But I also find myself alone.
What I believe, what like really matters and what God really wants for me anyway, is he wants me to have a relationship with him and he wants me helping people. Yeah. And I can have those two things without ever going to church. Like in the Bible, it says God does not enter temples made by hands. Yeah. Meaning God's not in the church. God resides inside of us. People who believe in him, right? So you don't need to go to church to have a relationship. Yeah. You know,
but you're going.
I do go, but it's not the most important thing. No, I didn't go today. I didn't go last week. Yeah. I'm not making it like I'm not going to become like a fundamentalist Christian. I need to be at church. And that and that's, also for me, like I have where I've experienced is alcoholism and drug addiction. So where I want to be is in coffee shops, like helping people through their addictions. That's where I feel like closest to God. Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of people who need help in comedy. Yeah. Do you feel that way? Yeah, sure. It's a mental asylum. Yeah. 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 It's the Sam Norton said it's the island of misfit toys, and like but I feel like I belong there too. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you didn't grow up like any. So no, not at all. Not at all. Did you have any preconceptions of God? No, to be honest with you, it wasn't really something I thought about. No, apathetic, no idea. I think I did mushrooms when I was a kid, and we do drugs and stuff. Maybe like it was fine. It was kind of fun to talk about God. Yeah, in sort of like a psychedelic. How old were you when you first did drugs in general? When I was 13, I did ecstasy. So my grandfather died of alcoholism. He choked on his own vomit when he was passed out. Whoa. And that always stuck with me when I was a kid. I was like, I don't know why I thought this, but I'm like, okay, I have a genetic predisposition towards alcoholism. I'm going to stay away from it. And I actually did. Like I'd go to parties when I was like in grade 9 or something and be the only one not drinking. Mm-hmm. And then there's this girl I had a crush on and she's like, you want to do ecstasy with me? And I'm like, yep. Yep. That's all it took. And I just, to impress her. But then I did ecstasy and it filled in every little crack in my soul and I just felt amazing. Yeah. And I think it's almost like a spiritual experience the first time you do drugs and they really work. And then I fell in love with drugs then, yeah. Yes. You go chasing after. And I was like 13 when I did ecstasy, yeah. Whoa. Apparently it was a problem. I grew up in Barrie and apparently in that pocket of, you know, suburban Ontario, ecstasy was a big thing. And my friend group from then, a lot of them are dead. Yeah. A couple of them are schizophrenic. Like my group of friends at ecstasy back then, they are not doing well. How I got out lucky. How old are you now? I'm 30. Just turned 30. 30. Okay. So yeah, I'm 10 years older than you. Yeah, like ecstasy. Yeah, ecstasy would have been big around then. Like that's like the tail end of like the rave era. And then it became Molly. It was like I got the first little stint of ecstasy, and then there was Molly right after. Yeah, Molly did a bunch of that too. Molly is what it became when it stopped being just a rave drug, and when it became like an everybody does. Yeah, and I did have mental health problems before discovering that stuff, and then all of a sudden I was depressed. I dropped out of high school. I couldn't function at all. because it just depletes your serotonin factory, right? Like just my brain could not make serotonin after that, and I was a disaster. Yeah.
So when did you go to university?
No.
So you finish high school and then do you immediately start comedy? Like, what do you?
No, I dropped out of high school.
You dropped out of high school.
I did, yeah, because I was so depressed, and then I went to like one of those adult schools in the mall. To try and get my high school diploma.
Well, your GED, yeah.
And then I dropped to that too. And then I thought I wanted to be a visual artist, like a painter.
Yeah.
And I went to Georgian College to be a painter. Dropped out of that in like 2 weeks.
Gotcha.
And then I was prescribed Adderall.
Yeah.
I got on Adderall and I discovered Joe Rogan. I didn't even like comedy.
Yeah.
But I was on Adderall. I started watching Joe Rogan. He showed me like Louis, Patrice O'Neill. Then I fell in love with comedy. My friends, when I was drunk, would be like, Matt, you're hilarious. You should try comedy. And I didn't really think anything of it. I thought comedy was lame. I thought comedy was like Jeff Dunham with the puppet. I'm like, I don't like comedy. I don't think it's funny. And then I discovered Joe Rogan, and he showed me like Louis C.K. and Opie and Anthony.
Oh, okay.
And then I got in it through that way. And then I fell in love with it. Yeah.
That's so funny. You didn't. Yeah. Well, I have to say, you are probably. I think you're one of the most naturally funny people I've ever met. Like, I just feel like off the cuff. Like, whenever I've seen you, you're just like. I feel like your like off the cuff stuff is like better than your material.
Yeah, probably because I'm lazy.
Well, I mean, your material just like some of it is definitely funny, but it's like it's definitely in the edgelord category.
Yeah.
So
I know, I want to get out of that cult. I want to get out of this one note kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because I thought back when I was a kid, like I was kind of silly and stuff. Like I just would like to maybe tap into that part of myself.
Yeah.
I think it relates to the conversation we're having about spiritual sicknesses. I just think I was cut off from parts of myself through it that are awakening now. I think I'm changing, which I'm excited about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to stay on the comedy thing though.
Okay.
So when do you move to Toronto?
When I was 20, I started taking a class at Second City.
Okay.
And my parents would drive me down to take the class. I took it with Evan Carter. He's an absolute comic.
Okay.
Black dude. He dresses like Bill Cosby.
Oh, yes. Gotcha.
Yeah, he was really nice and supportive and cool. And then I took the class, and we had like a graduation show at Absolute, and that was fun. And then I started doing it. I'm embarrassed though. I started doing comedy 10 years ago, but I've not been doing comedy 10 years.
Yeah. Have you been in and out?
Oh yeah, like I've been to rehab 4 times.
Yeah, okay.
I'd be like, I'm gonna take a year off and focus on recovery. I've done that 3 times. I've been in codependent relationships, so I'm a little embarrassed because I should be like whatever. I should be a headliner professional by now, but I am not. But that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Lucifer got my ass. I'm blaming him.
Yeah, you still. Well, I mean, if you're 30, you still got plenty of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I feel like I'm in a good place now with religion and everything and Jesus, and I think it's go time now.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
And I'll keep it on comedy, but like, because I thought like maybe, comedy was too of an egoic, selfish thing to do. So I did a lot of prayer on it.
Yeah.
And I actually think God wants me in comedy. He wants me to be doing. He has some kind of job for me to do in comedy, which was a big relief because I thought I was gonna have to quit. Yeah. But I love it. I'm fascinated by it, and I love it. It's so much fun.
I mean, well, the craft of it. When you think of like a great joke,
I also love this podcasting. I really like. Like I do a podcast called Goblin and Ogre with.
I know you
Lee
had the shirt on
when I got
your
baptized. Yeah. And I love it. We do it once a week, and like I love it. So much fun.
Yeah. This is the like. It's hard to fit. I'd rather do this than do commercials. Like I dropped my agent, so I wouldn't have to. Commercials was too much work, so I wanted more time to do this.
Yeah, comedy's basically just a way of trying to like make a living hanging out.
Yes.
Which is all our favorite things. We just want to hang out.
Yeah, I have no specific career aspiration.
Yeah.
Right? I just want to like hang out.
Yeah.
Travel around.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen to music. That's it.
Yeah, it's the best.
Because we met for the first time at I just love talking about this era of Toronto comedy, but like we met at the Hate Hut.
The Hate Hut. Oh yes. Was this during COVID?
This is like lockdown. When we were still locked down and everybody was performing in backyards. And I realized that that
was at Lee's house.
That was at Lee's house.
Yeah.
And I bombed. I performed there 3 times, and I bombed the first 2 times, and the place terrified me. And because you guys were crazy.
Yeah.
And I remember the last when I actually did well was when I just yelled at you guys for being lunatics.
Yeah.
That was the
comedy's a mental asylum, but like Goblin and Ogre and the Hate Hut, like that section of it's like the crazies they keep away from the regular crazies.
Well, yeah, I mean,
you know, in Shutter Island, there's 2 different buildings, and there's like one building's like stay away from there. That's the people we have on our podcast.
Well, I mean, I think that there's a place for everyone. Like
Yeah, there should be.
Like I don't think of myself as like as an edgelord. I think I have edgy jokes.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't call myself an edgelord, but I think that there's a place for people who want to say the most extreme things.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just like there's a place for the people who want to like.
Well, this is a beef I have with woke comics. This is a beef I have with woke comics because they're like, oh, we're so inclusive or whatever. But I've seen them exile mentally ill people, native people, black people, just because they don't fit into the ideological box of what they think comedy should be. And I'm like,
or
that's not inclusive at all.
How about by default, I'm not allowed to go?
You're not allowed to go.
Yeah, straight white guys. They're like the only ones not prefer. Like you'll be on at 1 a.m.
Yes.
As if it's
that happens to you too.
Well, I don't even go. I don't go to those shows.
You just don't even bother trying.
No, I don't.
Yeah,
bother.
me too.
I know where I'm not gonna do well. Right. Like I'm not like it's Jerry. One thing Jerry Corley says, my last guest, he uses the map analogy. So it's got to be the right material for the right audience by the right person. Right. So, I might have the right material and I'm the right person doing it, but I'm in front of the wrong audience.
But even sometimes the audience is normal, but the comics who run the show are the ones policing that stuff, right?
Yeah, that's also true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyways.
I try to like at my open mic. I love that you thought you were pre-banned at my open mic, by the way.
Which one was that, Tonight Bar?
That Tonight Bar.
I thought you banned me. Yeah. I guess I did. Yeah. That's the stuff I want to let go. Like the culture war in my head. Like it's not as real as I think it is.
No, I mean I hadn't banned anybody.
Okay.
Right. It was just I liked what Rob Mayhew said, which is that the audience determines what's funny. So you can say whatever you want, and if it's not funny, people won't laugh.
Yeah.
And if you got a lot of people not laughing for a long time, then I'm probably not going to book you.
Not to toot my own horn, but like I've done well, and people still have things to say.
Yeah.
Like I did the Comedy Bar Bucket show, and like it went well. People were laughing the entire time, like big pops. And still, I got talked to like, hey man, that was really funny. You killed, but you shouldn't say this.
It's how you killed.
It's just like what.
I don't like that.
That was annoying. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like to put rules.
And that just makes me not want to go those places. But also, I need stage time to get better.
Yeah.
And the Royal doesn't exist anymore. So
I know, but there's lots of places, right?
Yeah.
You go to Keys.
Maybe you can tell me after because I need to know.
Yeah.
Places to go to. Keys is good.
Yeah. There's lots to do.
Yeah.
This is a conversation I had with Harv. He had to remind me of it because I was kind of like down in the dumps last month. And he's like, do you want to be a comic or do you want to win the Toronto Comic Popularity Contest?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man. Yeah. Like,
I know. I listened to Ralphie May's master stand-up class.
Yeah.
And he actually gave me like a eureka moment. Like, I feel like I've been doing comedy to impress comedians.
Yeah.
He's like, if you're playing to the back of the room, you're going to be miserable. And that's what I've actually been doing. I want all the comics to think I'm hilarious and like me.
Yeah.
And I worry about that more than the audiences in a weird way, which I need to stop doing.
Yes, 100%. But it's really difficult because
comics are fickle. 1 minute they love you, 1 minute they're done with you.
Yes, yes,
they're fickle,
and it hurts your feelings.
It does,
right?
Does.
It's like we were perfectly like the last interaction we had, great, and now I'm dead to you. What happened?
I'm gonna name names. Danny Adheem, okay? He runs a Poorhouse open mic. Me and that guy were tight friends. We took a Second City class together.
Okay,
a long time ago, like 10 years ago. And we were friends. I used to sleep at his house. We'd like get high and watch Harry Potter and stuff. Like we were like homies. And then he started doing this open mic. And at first he was like, Matt, come all the time. It's great. And then I have a joke where I say a homophobic slur.
Yes.
And the joke works 99% of the time. Like I have it like woke proof where it works all the time.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, don't do that anymore. I'm like, okay, I won't. And then he starts doing this dark open mic. And then I went there. I'm like, oh, this is the dark open mic. I assume that I can do this here. Yeah. And then I did it and he snapped on me and he started screaming at me. And then he started like ignoring me. Like I'd see him in public and he just wouldn't look through me. And I'm like, this is what being a compassionate, loving individual is, just cutting off your friends for saying the wrong word one time. You know I'm not homophobic. I've been your friend for fucking 10 years.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here? It's infuriating.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I feel like comedy is sometimes it feels like high school.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's groups. There's the cool kids.
Yeah.
Right. And like, I feel like
and the goal is you get a fan base and you transcend all that stuff. Then you're just like, you're off doing your own thing.
Well, that's the goal because I always find that pros are always kind. People who are earning their living doing this, they're always great. They always have, a nice word to say to you or something encouraging. And it's the people who are slightly ahead of you that will, that you're, you ain't shit too.
Ryan Long's to doing comedy in Canada is like wearing a weighted vest. It's actually easier in America.
Oh, really?
Yes, because there's like more opportunities in America. There's like more stage time, but also the audiences are there's more of a counterculture there.
Yes.
that will like the kind of stuff that I do, and maybe that you do a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard
just
that,
more traditional club comedy, you know?
Yes, I think. Well, that's why I try to get out of town.
Yeah.
More often.
Yeah. I went to those places. I relax. Barrie, Waterloo, Hamilton. Like I relax. Yeah.
Sudbury, wherever. Like you can do more. You don't have to.
Well, it's people with jobs that just want to laugh. They're not into the whole culture war and blah blah blah.
Yeah, I've heard it described that way too. Is that doing comedy in Canada? It's like running on the beach or training with weights on, things like that. Like it's harder here.
Yeah.
Because I think Canadians in general, because I've heard this from like bands and musicians that come through here, is we're a little bit more reserved and definitely like more politically correct, especially in Toronto. So you need to be that much better to win people over in Toronto.
Yeah.
So by the time you get to the States, if you're doing great in Toronto, you've already like met the benchmark.
Also, we don't respect.
That's what I've heard.
We also don't respect our own art, I find. Like you haven't made it in art until Americans fuck with you.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
like even in music, my friends had that problem. Like they're like in a band up in Montreal, but actually Montreal's different. In Montreal, they like supporting local artists. They they take pride in that. But here in Toronto, they don't. Like American comics can be edgy, but Canadian comics can't.
No,
until they've made it over there, kind of thing.
Yeah, and who defines edgy? That's the thing. Yeah, it's like sometimes you'll do it out of town, it'll work.
And edgy changes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it feels like things are loosening up.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does feel a little less tight than it did even like 2 years ago.
Yeah. The shows I do, I'm like, I have to take the liberal take on this to be edgy in this room because everyone is so hateful.
Yeah.
I got to make fun of them for being hateful and believing in reptilians and stuff to be edgy over there. You know what I mean? Yeah. I got to go the other way.
Tell a story. You're like, I'm actually making a lot of reptilian friends now. They're actually super cool. So what do you want? So you want to do comedy? So what do you? I want
to become a headliner, bro.
Okay, so are you rebuilding your set?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something's changing inside of me. I want to go about it in a different way.
Yeah. I literally didn't take on book shows for December just so I can like write an open mic and build more stuff.
Oh, that's smart.
Well, I mean, the shows will always be there.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
but I'm gonna start like emailing places. I've never done this. Like I'm an idiot. Like emailing.
Like you never like hustled.
Like emailing yucks to get on, or even just asking people for sets. I've never done that. I just wait for people to ask me. But like that's never gonna work.
Yeah, I mean it will work a little, but
like certain people will ask me, but mostly no.
Yeah.
So I'm just not getting enough stage time to get better.
Yes.
But that is going to change. That's changing.
Good.
Yeah. I want a career. I want a family, bro. I respect what you got here. I want a family.
Yeah, but this wasn't built by comedy.
No, I know, but that's okay.
Did you get your high school?
No. Technically, no. So I get either this or nothing, really.
Yeah, I guess so. That's a heavy incentive.
Yeah, sort of. But like, also, like, I don't care if it doesn't work out in 15 years. I'll be a drug counselor.
Yeah, there you go.
I could probably do that laying down. Like, I know what to do.
Do you feel like this is the one, like like from the times you've relapsed before?
I've never had Jesus.
Yeah,
I think he was the missing piece in me getting clean.
What fascinates you about the Bible? Like, what are you discovering about Christianity that you hadn't seen before, or had you never really truly investigated it?
I just wrote it off as hokum.
Yeah,
and I've started reading it. And I can just see there's so much truth and wisdom in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe Jesus existed and died for my sins. I just believe it now. Yeah. I don't even know why. Like, I'm not the most like well-studied person in the Bible. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but it's just a feeling. I can feel Jesus talking to me and being inside of me. Like, I can feel it.
Yeah.
See, it's more of an experience I'm having. Like I was so broken by drugs and alcohol. Sorry to go back to the spirituality
No, it's okay.
thing, but I thought prayer was bullshit. I thought Jesus was nonsense. I thought the Bible was wrong. But I was so broken, I was willing to try anything.
Yeah.
So I got down on my knees. I started praying to Jesus and God.
Yeah.
And I had an experience. Like I started talking to them. I started flowing them in. That's why I believe in them. That's it.
Yeah.
Just an experience I had.
Yeah, and it's hard to argue.
I don't have like an intellectual reason why I believe in it. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it was that's why I think I've still, despite like some of the things I've gone through recently, I can't let go of it because like the experience that I had, you can't nobody can argue you out of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I became very much like I had this experience and then I'm going to like go after the knowledge that supports it. And so I would debate everybody. I would have debated you that the Earth was, 10,000 years old, and like,
okay,
right. I was super
yeah, I'm not
hardcore.
interested in doing that.
No, right. And but now it's like I wanted to justify it, and now it's more just there's something about it where it's like if you go after the details, like where they're talking animals, like it's in the micro that you're like some of this is silly, but in the macro, it's like it makes sense. Like Jesus existed, like essentially built the world that we live in now.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's on the macro where it's like it seems to make more sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and people like send me videos now being like, this mathematician proves that God existed, things like that.
Yeah.
Which is well intentioned and nice, and like I'll like it, but I don't watch them anymore because I don't need to watch videos proving the experience I had. Like I'm all good. I'm just gonna live with the experience. That makes sense.
Have you had anybody like push back on you?
Yeah, people don't like it.
Yeah,
but that actually makes me believe in it more.
Yeah, okay.
Because I'm like, oh, the darkness and the demons that they're still entertaining do not like the Holy Spirit inside of me, and they're lashing out. Like my baptism was really interesting. Like it was a great, beautiful day, but I found when I got home and I was alone, Satan was attacking. He's like, oh, Matt, you think you're breaking off from me? Hey, dude, I don't think so. And he just tried to flush my mind with all the negativity and the dark sludge and the hate just to bring me back to drugs.
Yeah.
But I got through it. But it was kind of cool. It makes sense. And, and another guy, this guy, Glenn, that I did the baptism with, he's also in recovery. He had the exact same experience. Yeah. The baptism was a beautiful day, but then when we got home, like he was attacking.
So why do you like this is a part of Christianity that I've always like had an issue with, which is that people will attribute things to the like Satan was attacking me. Not that why is it that and not I was sad or I was having like I was going through the like mental health kind of thing, or if you watch that documentary Stutz, like when you're dwelling on the past, like you're in the maze. Right. Like why is it Satan attacking me and not I'm having some negative thought patterns?
Okay, I guess for me, I struggled with what people would call depression my entire life. So when I was like a teenager, I started having suicide ideation. Mm-hmm. Why would a 12-year-old want to murder themselves?
I think it depends on where. Like you might have a natural genetic predisposition, right? Like in your personality. Yeah, like if you follow Jordan Peterson at all, like some people have a higher tendency towards neuroticism, which is propensity towards feeling negative emotion. Right. So if that's in your personality, that's what you would have a personality disorder.
Right. So I tried that route, like the medical route, which is the psychological route, which you're describing, therapy, meds, these kinds of things. Yeah. They never worked, bro. They never gave me any relief. In fact, they made things worse. Yeah. And I believe depression is a spiritual sickness. That's what I believe. Because now that I'm accessing spiritual power to treat that, it actually works where meds didn't work. Like I don't get depressed the way I did anymore. I'll have bad days, sure, but I'm not like in the fetal position, surrounded by junk food garbage and unable to move. Like I was like that for years, bro. I just couldn't move. I was like paralyzed. I also became a mute at one point. Like I couldn't speak. Really? Unless like drugs and alcohol were in my system. Like I was so socially anxious, and it was absolute hell. So.
And you've been in this position since your early teens.
Since my early teens, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And like I didn't have a dad growing up. I had a stepdad. I got bullied. I got rejected by girls. But there wasn't like any glaring childhood trauma that would cause this. Like, what is going on? It never made any sense to me.
What happened to your dad?
I don't know actually.
That might have something to do with it,
Yeah, maybe.
Statistically,
maybe, but yeah, I don't know.
Because I stopped talking to my dad 4 or 5 years ago. Okay. And it drives me crazy.
Yeah, why'd you stop talking to him?
I don't want to like air my dirty laundry in public, but basically like
that's a healthy move. Yeah. I respect that.
Well,
don't cast your pearls before swine.
Well, it's more just, things were said that couldn't be taken back. Okay. Right? I think I just don't think that we can coexist. I think I think we have too much that's unsolved from the past that go way back. That it's almost too much to get past. Okay. And then, but I think about it a lot. Right. So I can only imagine like people talk about this, like that if you don't have a father, higher propensity to drug use, higher propensity for criminal behavior, mental health. Like there's all these different markers that not having your real dad in your life will do to you. Mm. So, I mean, having a stepdad is still good though, but he was a good dude.
Yeah. Good dude. Yeah. There's something I want to say, but maybe I won't say it. I'll say it in a nice way. My mom didn't allow him to be a father figure to me completely.
Okay.
Like there was one story, like I was getting bullied at school, and my stepdad's like, "Oh, let's go to the garage, and I'll teach you how to like dirty box,
Yeah.
so you can defend yourself." And then my mom caught us doing that, and she kind of freaked out. She's like, "You're not his father. Don't be pushing this on him." And what she does is she goes over to the school and yells at the kids herself.
Yeah, that makes
which
it
made my life 10 times worse. So he would try and like give me a masculine approach to dealing with life.
Yeah.
And she wouldn't really allow that to happen, which caused problems in my life.
Interesting.
What he was doing is probably the better move. Like if I just learned how to punch someone in the face when I was a kid,
absolutely,
people would not fuck with me anymore. But
that's actually,
and to this day, I still don't like confrontation. It's not my thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like nobody. I don't know who likes that feeling of like
adrenaline
going through you, where you think like, am I
think some people do.
Yes, I guess. I guess you're right.
But I hear you.
Well, or you get accustomed to it.
Yes. Well, yeah.
But yeah, it's that's one of the things that I am grateful for from my dad, was the fact of like when I was a kid, I remember very distinctly like I think I was like 4 or 5, we were going to the park across the street, and there was this kid who was like kind of like picking on me, and my dad was like, next time, like stand up for yourself, like do something, like you can stop this.
Yeah.
And like the next time we went, the kid was chasing me, and I was just like, Dad, and my dad just went like this, and I was like, oh yeah, and I turned around and I punched that kid, and he never bothered me again.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So like I learned, I fought like I had multiple fights up till like grade 9.
Really? Eh? Good for you.
Yeah. I was never afraid to fight.
Okay. Good for you. I'm impressed.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I learned like it was like in real fights, you didn't have to play nice.
Right.
Right. Like I would do what it took to win.
I've been knocked out.
Oh, really?
I've not been in a fight.
That's weird. You got like sucker punched?
I've been knocked out 3 times in my life. When I'm drunk, I feel like I'm an icon, legend, living, whatever. Will Smith's son, that song.
Yeah.
And I just run my mouth and I'm obnoxious and I treat people badly and I think I'm funny. And I've been sucker punched 3 times because of that.
Whoa.
But I've never been actually like, meet me here. We're going to have like a fight.
I've never been like, how many drinks does it take to get you to that point?
Where I'm like blackout?
Yeah.
I don't even know. Maybe 10.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I'm weird though. Like alcoholics and drug addicts will describe like when they're on their way to get drugs or alcohol, they'll already feel drunk. It's really strange. Just getting into like people be like, you're drunk after 1 beer. I'm like, yeah, I know. Just by being on the path, your mind goes there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Are you living back at home?
No, I live with Darren Bork. You know him? Comic.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So I'm renting a room at his place. Yeah.
That's good. There you go.
Yeah.
So are you writing?
I am writing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm very confused though, Jay, to be honest with you.
How so?
I just things got to change the way I go about comedy and writing. I don't feel very funny. I think my identity's shifting, and I'm sure it'll settle into place. But I don't really know who I am going to be in a comedy context going forward.
It's tough.
I want it to change.
Yeah, it's tough when you're in a negative place to feel funny.
Yeah,
right?
I feel like I'm in a good place actually, but I'm okay with it. I think it'll get sorted out.
Okay,
it'll get sorted out.
Yeah,
I just don't know if I want to be a bully and shit on people and be. I don't know though, because I do like that kind of comedy. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm confused. That's the honest.
Well, I think the thing is, though, it's almost like I feel like this is one of the things that
I want to get some. I want to get some other gears.
Yes, that's
like
fair.
I'm pretty good at the edgelord gear.
Yeah,
like I can make people laugh doing that. That'll be part of my thing. But I want to get another gear.
Yeah. I mean, you should listen to Andrew Barr's new special because it's all like recovery stuff.
Yeah.
So
I also don't even know if I like that.
No, I mean,
people like their identities being sober, like that's kind of lame too. But
well, I think he talks more about like the experience of actually going to rehab.
Oh, okay.
Like I think it's. I saw him do some of it. It's pretty good.
It's good, yeah.
But yeah, you want to have
like I watched like a Brian Regan special last night that inspired me.
Yeah.
Just to get into different gear.
I bought all of Louis' specials.
Nice.
Because you can get them for like $30 as a package on his website.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I'm trying to study more comedy too. I'm watching like a whole bunch of specials to figure out like how to write like a good opening joke. Just like a good one-liner. Like I learned that like one thing that Louis does is he'll start with something that's really like obscene.
Yeah.
Like so abortion.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
or my favorite sex position.
And that'll get a pop.
And that just that line alone gets a pop, and then you're off. And I want to be able to do something like that. But it's also interesting because like you're watching the specials of big comics, and so you realize that like they've already got the goodwill of the audience right away. Like they don't need to do some sort of like preamble. Like a couple they'll mention a joke about the city they're in, and then they're off, or some guys just go straight into material. So yeah, it's
is he your favorite, Louis?
Louis is my favorite.
Yeah,
I think
too.
Louis. I like Chappelle a lot, but I don't know if he ever topped Killing Them Softly.
Right.
Like Sticks and Stones was good. But I think I liked. I'm telling you for the last time, like Seinfeld. I love Brian Regan.
Yeah.
I liked.
I watched the Moon one, Walking on the Moon.
Oh yeah.
That was hilarious.
Oh yeah, that's a fantastic one.
The first bit about he has some kind of he goes to the hospital. He's having like a heart attack or something. He drives himself to the hospital. It's like it's fucking hilarious.
Yes, there's one of the comedy people I study, Jared Volley. He uses that bit as like a illustration.
Yeah, I saw you had that guy on the podcast, right?
That was Jerry Corley.
Oh, Jerry Corley. Okay.
Yeah, I study many different approaches.
That's cool, man. I respect that. You got to be a nerd to get great at this.
Yeah, I just
and I use that term like in a good way. Like you got to be like diligent. You got to be studious.
Well, I find, at least for me, I'm just not that witty. Like the guys who I write on stage, I don't get that. Like I don't get the idea of like having an idea and then like stumbling through it in front of people. You have more
of a writer brain.
Definitely.
Yeah,
I'm definitely
me too, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Me too. I'm kind of like the introverted writer type.
Like I've got
heart.
Yeah, I think when I'm doing comedy, if I am funny in the moment, I've got like a few moves. Like I know to exaggerate whatever I'm doing, like take it to the nth degree. But it's hard to find like in crowd work or something like that. And I don't know, but I find it difficult to just like riff on stage.
Yeah, it's good. It's good you're doing a podcast. That's the number one tip Joe Rogan gives to young comics. You start a podcast because then it just gets you talking in an entertaining way.
Yes.
Once a week, and you'll find stories or ideas or premises just by doing this.
Yeah, I hope so.
Things will come to you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Even childhood memories, like that childhood memories. There's something funny about that.
Yeah,
I explore that. In when I'm writing.
Well, I like one thing Jerry Corley says is every story can be a bit because every sentence is a setup.
Right.
Every sentence that's not funny in the story, you can react to and add tags to, and before
brilliant.
you know it, if you've got a 5-sentence story,
that's brilliant.
That's
something. I think that's something I want to explore, storytelling, because I have tons of stories.
Yeah,
like decades of stories. I just want to mine them and tell them on stage, and I'll find the funny in them.
Exactly, and like the big thing is just tell the story not funny.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what's the who, what, where, when, how in that story? What's the who are the characters? What's the setting? What's the arc? What's the conflict?
Right.
What's the ending? Get those sorted out, and then, like I said, if it's like a 5-sentence story, and if it's like a joke plus a tag plus another tag, right? You're looking at like up to 15 jokes off, 5 sentences, and 15 jokes is 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Potential, like, right? So there's opportunities, but yeah, you got to be in the right place. I've been having a hard time like writing lately, but I've been just like procrastinating a lot.
Yeah. I'll be honest, a lot of my comedy is very racist. And I'm starting to get disgusted by it. I'm like, every joke. It makes me laugh.
I never run out of stuff on the Polish. I just it just comes to me.
Yeah. Maybe that's my growth in comedy. I'll just start hating on white racists. Other
yeah,
white
just
racists,
go. Yeah, that's what I do.
So you're allowed to do that.
Yeah, I make fun of redheads twice in my act.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Because I can get away with it. Oh man, I want to see how long we are. I don't want to like take up too much time. Hard to see.
Do you trim it up?
No, I mean I'll put up the whole podcast in its totality on like Spotify and YouTube. Like I'll do a video version on YouTube, and then I'll do the full audio on like Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and then I'll just put clips on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram.
Oh, nice.
To kind of like get it out there.
Nice.
So because you never know what's going to pop off. I've got this one with me talking to Chris Robinson about like why don't Jehovah's Witness churches have crosses on top?
Oh, that's interesting.
And like on Instagram, it's like over 40,000 views now. Like,
is it because they don't believe in like false idols?
Well, they say it's like we don't worship like. I wanted to hear him out in the podcast. I wasn't gonna debate him on the podcast, but like people are like the comments are just lighting up with like Jehovah's Witness people and like Christians like fighting over it. And I mean, it's a symbol. It's not like Christians don't worship the cross. It's a symbol.
Yeah.
Right. Like
my church is against that. Like they have a cross, but it's like very traditional and sort of bare bones. But like you go to Catholic church, they have like Jesus' face. And all that, and they see those as false idols. You're worshiping.
Well,
statues.
yeah, like we don't like. That's why I kind of agree with the Protestants in the sense of like I don't think you. Why would you pray to Mary? Why would you pray to anything that's not God?
Yeah.
Like but that's a Catholic thing. That's not a Protestant thing.
Yeah.
But they go even further, like the Jehovah's Witnesses.
For me, I'm done following men.
Yeah.
I don't want to follow men anymore.
No.
I feel like I was always on YouTube looking for like a surrogate father figure. Like Joe Rogan was my dad for a while.
Jordan Peterson.
Then Anthony Cumia, and then.
Were you ever into Peterson?
No, not like that. A little like no. It was never a big one for me.
I was in the beginning when he first like came out. I was like really into it.
There's this guy named RSD Tyler. I'm a little whatever. This is a bit out there, but he was a pickup artist guy.
Okay.
He was my dad for a while. But he's like a sober, like spiritual guy. And he was autistic and he didn't know how to socialize. And then he basically he became a nerd of social dynamics.
Yeah.
As an autistic person. And then became very good at social dynamics and like the art of seduction. And he teaches this online. And I got into that stuff for a while. It actually helped me. It broke me out of my shell and stuff like that. Like they'll treat women like comedy, basically. Like, oh, I did 20 sets last night. That means you talked to 20 women at the club. Yeah. Just to develop that social skill.
Yes.
Right? But anyways, I'm done doing that, following men. Like I've done it my entire life. It led me nowhere. But now that I follow God and Christ, it's gotten me somewhere. It's beautiful.
One great way to, if you want to be able to talk to women, is get married.
Yeah.
Because then they don't view you as a man anymore.
But I bet some of them want to be like, oh yeah, you got a ring? Well, I'll get you still.
No, not really.
Ever happen?
No, I had one girl kind of flirt with me after a show once, and like I didn't entertain it at all, and that's it. I haven't had really anybody. I think I'm too wholesome. I think people assume that this guy's not a cheater.
Interesting. That's nice though.
It is. Good for you. It's nice to not have to worry about it. That's for sure.
I think we've lost our way as men a little bit.
I mean,
it's all about like body count and fuck bitches get money type shit. But like, we're supposed to protect women. We're supposed to like.
Yeah, that's true masculinity. Yeah, it's like people look at me like I'm the weird one for being married and having children and like owning a house and being a provider.
It is weird now, yeah.
Right? Like, yeah.
I know. It's very strange.
Like, that's the thing that's actually the most upsetting is like not being respected in comedy, but outside of comedy, I'm like, like I'm the only fully functioning human being in this whole scene, right? Like,
I know. Someone called you a loser once.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I'm not gonna tell you who because I don't want. Sorry, I'm telling you this. Hurt your feelings. Like, Jay's not a loser at all. He has a family. He has like a nice house. He has a car. Like, and it was like a comic who's like an open micer has nothing.
Oh,
it's just. But in that world, yeah, like what you're saying, like you having an actual life is like a bad thing. But I actually was like, no, I respect that. He's a Christian family man. I respect that.
Yeah, I'm a loser. Well,
sorry I said that. It just kind of came out.
It's okay.
Sorry.
I mean,
sorry, dude. I think you're cool.
No, it's okay. It's just mean. I'm like, why are people mean? But I guess there's people I don't like either, so you just gotta get used to it.
Yeah, comics are mean. But it's also we just sit around and talk all day, so like things are gonna come out eventually.
Yeah.
It's
okay. Yeah, I'm a loser. Who needs a ride, guys?
I don't know why I said that. I'm a fucking idiot. Why would I tell you that?
That's okay.
Okay.
It's okay. Don't tell me who it is. I won't ignore them forever.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of hateful, mentally ill people. Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's tough to navigate, and it's tough to get good. It's tough to find the opportunities to do like big sets. I feel like we're not talking about anything.
Yeah. I can tell you about a video I watched last night. It's pretty cool.
What'd you watch?
So I'm trying to like not watch TV and movies as much.
Yes.
And I'm watching Christian testimonies.
Okay.
And this guy, he was the video is called High Level African Warlock Finds Jesus. So this guy was born in Uganda, and the day he was born, he was married to a 60-year-old witch.
Okay.
Like a witch doctor.
Yes.
And like these people practice Satanism like in Africa, and they'll have like spiritual battles between tribes and stuff like that. It's like pretty out there stuff. And then he finds Christ at the age of 24 and becomes a pastor.
I mean, I hear these like crazy stories come from the third world. Well, I've seen videos like this. Like
I'm sensing some skepticism.
I mean, I'm
not gonna lie. Some skepticism came up during it, but I actually got a lot out of it as well.
Well, there's parts of like the whole. People call it like having like spiritual sensitivity, or something like I think in the Christian world they call it discernment.
Yeah.
Right. Like having discerning spirits.
A discerning mind,
right. Yeah. Like discerning good and bad spirits and stuff like that. And I have no experience with that whatsoever. But I mean, I've heard some crazy stories from like missionaries and stuff. Like I can't remember where they were, but it was like Thailand, Philippines, like somewhere out there. And the missionary was like, yeah, I was with a whole bunch of adults and we were traveling and we were in the middle of nowhere. And all we could hear where we were staying were babies crying.
Whoa.
Like in a place where they had no children.
Right.
Like those are the stories you hear.
Right.
Like that are wild.
Yeah, I think I believe it. I believe in the spirit realm. I've seen some things.
Yeah, I just try to like, I don't encounter it, or I don't feel like I'm encountering it, so I don't really like think about it.
Mm.
But then there's like Christians who are obsessed with it so much that it makes you like not believe it.
Yeah, Christians are nuts, eh?
Yeah, man.
We were at like a breakfast one time after service, and like a flat Earth debate broke out.
Oh gosh.
And this was one of my first times going to church. I wasn't even sure I was going to be a church person.
Yeah, yeah.
And but I kind of loved it in a way. I'm like, this is fun. This is stimulating.
I'll tell you a crazy story.
They'll argue about dinosaurs, flat Earth, all kinds of things. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because like they're fun. They're fun but pointless debates. Like, are you a young or old Earth creationist?
Right.
Or theistic evolution? Get him right. Like you're the I was leading worship at this one church. It was like a bigger church.
You sing?
No, I
play guitar.
I was at this one I was playing bass, but yeah, I mostly played guitar.
Okay.
And I was playing, and my buddy Curtis is the worship leader. He's singing and telling the audience to stand up and greet one another. That guy. Okay. And while we're playing the first song, and this woman walks up the aisle, up the stairs onto the stage, and she's wearing like almost like a nightclub dress, but it looked like velvety. And it was like red and velvety. And while Curtis is singing, she runs her finger down his arm while and then like some people come on the stage to try to get her off. And then she starts freaking out. She's like, don't fucking touch me. Get your hands fucking off me. Right? Like she goes crazy on the stage. Yeah. Right. And then after we're done, I'm like, well, that was like, was that planned? Like, because she did it so intentionally. You're like, is this part of like, I'm on the stage. I was a guest at this church. It wasn't my church. I was being paid to be there.
Right.
And they were like, and I was like, is that what happened? Like, I was kind of like, thought it was funny. And then like the pastor of the church came on and I was like, what was with her? He's like, that wasn't her. Right. Like implying that she's possessed. Oh, right. Okay. And then he does like prayers against possession and astral projections and like all this stuff. I'm like, okay.
Interesting. Astral projection. Yeah, that was one of the things the witch doctor guy talked about.
Yeah.
When he was a child, he would like teach astral projection to the adults. But like talk about childhood trauma, people would come up to him and they have to like get naked, full adults. He's like a 6-year-old child.
Yeah.
Get naked and talk to him, and that way his powers would be transmitted back to them. And like this guy was like severely messed up. So I'm glad he got saved, but
I just wonder how those practices develop.
Yeah, I don't know.
First, I got all these problems. Step 1, talk to a child. That's not working. Step 2, take my clothes off in front of the child. That seems to be working. Things got a little bit better after I took my clothes off in front of the child. So maybe you should try. Maybe I'll take my clothes off in front of the child too.
See what happens. Yeah.
See what happens.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Maybe you can explain to me like Christian dating culture, because I find it very confusing.
Yeah, you shoot.
Because everyone's pretending that like, oh, we're all waiting for marriage. Is that actually going on?
I mean, largely, yeah.
Because I look around, I'm like, I don't know if I believe this is actually happening.
I mean, people are fooling around for sure, right? So what
does that mean?
But like,
second base and stuff.
Yeah, like I think people are doing stuff. I heard like at Christian camps and stuff that people go wild, but it's hard because Christians usually get married pretty young.
Okay.
Right. You're at 30, you're already old.
I'm old, yeah.
To be in the Christian dating world.
Right.
Right. So like there are probably women who are divorced by 30.
Okay.
So, but the good thing is because you're a new believer, it's all clean slate. Whatever you were doing before.
I'm just finding these Christian girls are doing the same things that non-Christian girls would do. Like they're wearing like scandalous outfits at church, and they're getting sort of stimulated by guys looking at them and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, this isn't that different from the rest of the world. Yeah. But I kind of expected it to be, but it really isn't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I say that I see that in my church.
Well, yeah, all churches are different too.
Yeah, I don't know.
But also the dating pool is really small, right? So,
Yes.
And like there's pressure to like date within that world, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean,
you don't want to date a non-Christian person usually.
Yes. That's the thing.
So that adds an interesting dynamic. It's like, oh, these 50 guys and these 50 girls, there's like pairings going on.
Yeah, and then the older
there's like more of a pressure to like.
Yeah, people will leave churches to go to other churches if they got no more prospects in the church that they're in.
Okay, so I'm picking up on something that's real.
Oh yeah,
and I'm not necessarily going there for that to be.
Oh no, when I was like a year out of high school, I was leading worship for like the singles group at my church.
Yeah.
And this time I was actually singing. I'm not a great singer, but I was the only like option that they had. And it was like all the I think it was college and careers they called it. And it was mostly just the singles, people who were single who were like either in university or careers. And yeah, like it was full of all the weird dudes. Right. And then once the weird dudes get rejected by all the women at the church, they move on. There were guys who joined the church. Like I remember there was a guy
that is awful.
Yeah. Well, there was a guy who we were in youth group and like, or we were in like the college group. We're all me and my friends at the time, we're all first year university. And this guy shows up and he looks like he's pushing 40.
Okay.
And maybe he was just like one of those young guys who looked old, but he looked way older than the rest of us. And it became like very apparent that he was just there to like find a woman. Like scant details on his religious experience.
And he's just pretending to be.
Yeah, I think like
a believer.
Yes, and that happens too. And the other weird thing, I've talked about this before, is that there are people who are atheists who go to church, but they're just there for like the community.
Right.
Like, you know, we're centered on these principles, but we're here for each other. We serve the community at large. Like, they're like, you know, I'm kind of blasé on the like people rising from the dead part, but you know, you're all fun and nice, and you know, nobody's doing hard drugs.
Yeah, I went to a Christmas party that was like thrown by the pastor.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago, I had a terrible experience. I was having the best day, and I went to this place. It's like a mansion in Royal York. Like this guy was loaded. You'd walk into the bathrooms. There's like the automatic lights would turn on. There's like a pool table, a ping pong table. It was like very luxurious. I'm like, this is how the pastor's living. I found that kind of odd.
Yeah.
And then this could have been in my head, but I'm like, I feel like everyone's looking at me like, who's this poor drug addict trying to fit in with these elite?
I felt that way too. The first time I went to church, I felt that way. I felt like I did not belong there. I do not belong here with these people.
And I'm like, I thought we're supposed to be Christians, like loving people. And I've been going to AA meetings for years. We go to an AA meeting, like if you're having a bad day, everyone hugs you, and it's like we're all kind of in this together. And I thought church was going to be like that, and I'm finding it isn't actually, which was a bit disappointing to me.
What were you expecting it to be?
A bit more loving and welcoming. And I've had experience like that with certain people, but then there's other people who probably just go to church. They don't necessarily believe in God. They don't necessarily believe in trying to be like Christ and loving everybody. They're just doing it to do it, or maybe their parents did it, and they're just like the same as everybody else, just cliquey and.
Yeah, I think it's. I think a lot of times in church, people just. I mean, it really just depends on the church. Like, I think the bigger the church, the more likely you're going to encounter that.
Okay.
Because there's more people. Like, it's so big that it naturally forms like cliques.
Right.
It can't not, because it's just so big.
Just so big.
Right. Yeah. The church that I'm going to I think it's like, if everyone were there, it'd be like 2,000 people. Something like that. Like, I think it's a lot of people. And so you kind of just got to stick with who you know. Like, I'm in this weird place now because I used to play in the band. And so the band people were my people, but I don't anymore. So I don't really know anyone. Right. And so if you're going to like when my wife and I went to a small church, like we were swarmed by everyone. You're new. Welcome. Blah, blah, blah. Like everybody was talking to us. So I think it's harder, which is why bigger churches will like put on events like a party or something like that for you to meet other people.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah.
And like the party was thrown by a pastor and his wife. And then they were the only people that were like older adults there. And then the rest of us were just like younger adults. And I'm like, what is going on here? Yeah. It almost felt like a bit culty. I was like, this is strange. We're all just supposed to mingle and pair off or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it can be a little weird. I've always like I've never fully gelled with it because I wasn't brought up Christian.
Yeah, I don't know if that's my world completely.
Yeah, and so I remember I was at this one church and they were doing these like events on like Friday night, and it was like basically like people just getting together, and like some people like drew paintings and they wanted me to play guitar, and it was like I was like, what purpose does this serve? Who is this for?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, are we spending money on us?
Right.
You know, like I don't know. Or the part in the service where, you know, we all have to speak in unison. You know, like Father, hear our prayer. We all say it at the same time. Like that always gives me like culty vibes.
Yeah. Why do you go then? What do you get out of it?
Right now, I am going because my wife wants to go.
Okay.
And then I don't know. I just don't know. I feel like I'm very cynical about
Do your
it.
kids go?
Yeah, we go. Like
How old are your kids?
11 and 9.
Okay. Are they into it, or are they kind of like, our parents are forcing us to go?
One's kind of like, I don't know if she's into church, but she's into like the whole God and spirituality part. Cool. I think like that comes naturally to her. And then I think my other one likes the Sunday school activities stuff, but is very suspicious of like about the spiritual claims.
Right. Don't you look around the world and feel like people need it right now? God.
Oh yeah.
It seems like people are miserable.
Yeah, it feels like
we have infinite entertainment. Like we kind of live like very sort of lavish lives. Even if you're poor, you kind of do still. And you can be stimulated all day constantly. And it just feels empty though. And people are like, oh, okay, well, what else is there?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like the pandemic made the world like worse.
Yeah.
It does. Don't you feel like it feels like everything got really, and it's not as if things weren't heavy. It was almost like the perfect way to end the Trump presidency. Yeah. Where like Trump started running, things got really bad. And then the January 6th thing happens, and then the pandemic happens. And it's like, we've never bounced back from it. Like I always say, like people ask me like, what do you miss most about the 90s? And I think we were better without the internet because we all shared one culture.
Yeah.
Right. Like I knew I wasn't a big rap fan, but I knew all of the videos because I was watching much music just like everybody else.
Yeah. Well, that was part of the reason why I love Game of Thrones so much, because it kind of replicated that, how it was in the 90s.
We had this one thing.
And we all sat down at the same time and watched it. And the next day you could talk about it at work or whatever.
Yeah. And then, you know, like
cool.
It's crazy to me to think that
internet algorithms have created echo chambers and tribes of people. And it's not good. People like hate each other now because it's just not even if it's trying to get you to hate somebody else, but it's giving you your unique feed that nobody else really has. You just live in your own little world.
You live in your own little world, and you'll send one video to somebody, and that's the extent of how you share what you see with others. Yeah. Like, oh, this was funny.
Yeah.
But it's
also hyper addictive. Like I'll get lost down these like rabbit holes. I'm like, I could be writing or like reading a book right now.
Oh yeah.
Or getting like 3 sets in. Like this is a waste of time.
Yeah. I find it's hard to like stay on task.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like
man.
I've experimented with doing like dopamine fasts.
Oh, that's something I wanted to ask you about because what's the name of your not offensive Instagram handle?
Oh, no easy dopamine.
Tell me about that.
Okay, so no easy dopamine is sort of a goal that I've had for a long time that I've not quite pulled off. This is my goal. I want to live life with like no easy dopamine. So no alcohol, no drugs, no cigarettes, no porn, limited junk food, limited caffeine, but also like no social media and no like binge watching. Because I feel like if I cut out all of that, because all that stuff like is like a target for my addictive personality, and then aim my addictive personality at like writing and reading books. And like performing a lot and like to have that be my high, I think I could be like very successful.
Yeah. See, like when you say that, I resonate with it. Like I've had this recurring thought about.
I think it's a real problem for people.
I want to go to like a cabin without a phone for like a week and just detox. That's what I want so badly.
You like read a novel. You're like the level of like writing these guys are on. It's like wow. And like I think part of the reason is because they just didn't have like the distractions that we have.
People were healthier,
and everyone's making like this sort of throwaway content, like TikToks and stuff like that. And like there's some funny stuff on there and whatever. It's hilarious. I'm not hating on it, but it just doesn't have like the potency of like a really well made book.
Yeah,
you know?
There's very few memes that we would call classics.
Yeah, exactly. That's very well put. Yes. Because it doesn't take blood, sweat, and tears the way a novel does, or the way a script does, or like a special.
Yeah, or the learning that it takes to create that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Exactly. So I feel like we are well over an hour, man.
Okay.
Thanks for coming. This was enlightening.
Yeah.
I felt like I didn't really come. I had a list of questions, but then you came 40 minutes early. And then I did not read a single one of them. But
my bad, dude.
No, not at all. This was good, man. I appreciate you coming out and
let's do it again in a few months.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
I'll tell you what things transpired.
Yeah, well, see if you're still. Yeah, no. I don't want to sound negative. We'll confirm that you're still on the wagon.
All right, bro. Thanks for having me.
All right, no problem. Thanks for coming. Bye.